Let's go. So, Goal Trainers, Your True Potential podcast. This is Guido, and today we have a special guest, no one else than Margo Awanata. You are the founder of Path of the Priestess, Wild and Sacred Women, Wild Women Fest, many more things. What is it all about? What is it that you do? Who is it that you are, Margo?
Hi Guido, so good to
Hey.
see you. Well, I'm Margo Awanata, and what I do, I'm specialized in women's work, so it's women empowerment work, but it's so much more than that. It's just like helping others remember who they are, especially women, remember who they are underneath the layers of insecurity, judgment, especially self-judgment, self-criticism, jealousy. As women, we have men, of course, too, but I'll talk about what I do right now.
Exactly.
But we have so many, actually, we have so many lies that we have started to believe along the way, like competition, women who are in competition, jealousy, backstabbing. And I help women to remember who they are underneath all those insecurities so that they can remember themselves.
Yeah, remember. And that sounds so easy sometimes, right?
Well, in fact, it is easy when you do it in connection. I
In
think
connection.
the biggest disease of, well, since forever, is the lack of connection. And I think as soon as you really step into that connection, really are willing to be vulnerable and open your hand and open your heart, then the work gets so much easier. Of course, it's still hard work and a lot of shadow work, but when you do it together, you come a long way. Without connection, it's a lot harder, as you
A
might know.
lot. Yeah. That's Together is better. That's one of my slogans.
Exactly, yeah.
So, shadow work. You do a lot of shadow work as well.
Yeah.
How does that exactly look like?
Well, shadow work is really working with traumas. Along the way, we get traumatized. Even since we are a little girl or a little boy, we get traumatized when our parents don't pay enough attention to the drawing that we make. These are all little traumas. So traumas don't even have to be tremendously big, like, now, well, you can think of those things yourself. But it already starts by just feeling ignored by something so small as a parent that's not noticing your drawing. And all these traumas, they build up. And in shadow work, you move into those things that you actually don't really want to see, like your own blind spot, the things that you move away from because they hurt too much or they are too scary to move into. So what I do is I guide people to go exactly there, because the lotus only grows in the mud.
The lotus only. I love that. The lotus only grows in the mud.
Yeah.
So, how did your lotus grow out of the mud? And I see you. Let's like give you a little uh, lotus. For me, I see you really as a lotus, like a leader, women, helping others around. Like, I don't know, like I told you in the beginning before we started, um, yeah, you're always coming across as someone that is extremely relaxed, but I can imagine myself that it wasn't always like that.
No, no,
How
no.
did your lotus really grew then?
Well, I went in the mud very deep. It already started when I was a teenager. I had very, very low self-esteem to the point that I became bulimic. I got bulimia when I was 16, 17 years old. Well, 15, 16 years old, I got bulimia and I wanted to die. I didn't want to live anymore. I found the world so extremely unsafe and I really felt like a misfit. Actually, I had written in my diaries that I was a waste of space. I used those exact words. And if you think of it, that's a very horrible thing to say to yourself, like a waste of space. And when I went to school, I always, when the break was over and everybody went to the class, I always stayed behind in the toilet to vomit because I thought that I was alone. And this was really a really dark period in my life, and I was really writing my diary about ending my life, about I just wanted to paint, and the feeling of not belonging to stop. I didn't have anyone that I could talk to. I didn't fit in. I got bullied. So I was in a very dark place. And I went to the toilet. And when I came out of the toilet, my biology teacher was standing there. She was like, in my memory, she was a really old lady, but she was probably 50 years old. But
Yeah,
I remember as really ancient. And
yeah.
she just looked at me and looked in my eyes. And I thought, I saw myself as a monster. When I was in the toilet throwing up, I saw myself as a monster. I thought I was the most disgusting person in the whole world. And she just looked at me with so much compassion. And she said, girl, what do you need? What do you need? And I could not receive that at that point in time because I was insecure, and I just didn't know how to handle that kind of compassion. I didn't know that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran away. I ran out of the school, and I had my Discman with a lot of CDs that I carried with me everywhere. So I put on my headphone and put on a CD, and I cried. I cried so hard because something in her way that she wanted to connect to me, it told me, it awoken something. It awoken like, all right, give it one more try. You have to do this. And then I put on my Discman, and there was a CD in there, and the lyrics were, don't waste your time on the past. It's time to look at the future. It's already there if you ask. This time, try much harder and be the best that you can be. And it was like all the pieces of the puzzle just came together. And I decided to give it one more try. I really decided, all right, I'm going to give it all. I'm not going to give in. I'm going to fight for it. And if that doesn't work, there's always this escape that I was thinking of a lot back in that time. And to make it not an hour-long story, I did. I reached out. I went to, there was a crystal shop in the place that I lived there, and it was 1997, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
there was this one crystal shop in Schagen,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a poster, and it said, innerlijke godinnenwerk, inner goddess work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went there, and it were like 5 or 6 really old people, women like 40 and 50.
Really old.
Back then it really was really like, I felt so young. And they were not doing so much except eating chocolate. They were smoking on the little attic they were in, and but they were also talking, and they were talking to me like an equal. And I opened up. I opened up about my bulimia and about not fitting in. And a woman that I was talking to, she told me that she had anorexia, and she just connected to me, and everything changed. Everything changed. I just started to show up for myself and reaching out and realizing that I didn't have to do it alone anymore. And that was the first mud that I started to sprout from.
Started to sprout from and grew out of it and rose up from that mud.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that woman that could be that sort of, yeah, mother for you in some sort of way, and you want to be that mother for others. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Along the way, I first started to do a lot of, I didn't go to a therapist because I was too afraid. But I've always been I've reached out to a few friends that I had, and they helped me with showing up. They helped me by telling me, like, go to the mirror now and tell yourself that you're great. Go to the mirror and write down with your lipstick that you are beautiful. And they just encouraged me to start working on myself. And along the way, I started to do work in Tantra, in therapy. I started to do dance therapy and shamanism. And by the time I was 22, I thought, I want to pass it on. I want to pay it forward. So I invited friends, my sisters, in my little house in Amsterdam, and we started to just do exercises and meditation and body work and dance, and especially opening up. And then I realized, oh, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And
This
it
is your.
grew. This is 18 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So from that, Lotus start growing already.
Yeah.
That's quite a while, actually, right? Like if you look
Yeah.
back on it right now.
Yes, being quite
Um,
right.
yeah. So if you could like say like this is like the key, or these are the key things that I discovered from that. Like, could you make like a list from 3 to 5 things to say like that would really
Mm.
be a key list that I discovered? Like that I would, let's say there's a lady listening right now,
Mm.
or maybe even a man, your age 18 years ago, right? I don't
Yeah.
want to like make assumptions, but what would you say? Like, what does
First
that
thing I
person need to
would
do?
say, show up for yourself. Show up. And I know especially women, but I know men do this too. We show up for everyone else. We take care of everybody else. We make sure that everybody's fridge is filled, that everybody is taken care of. And last on your to-do list is yourself, your self-care, your self-love, your self-development. And I think the most important thing is start showing up for yourself the way you show up for others. And the way you know that you actually should show up for yourself, the way you want your children to show up for themselves. I think that's the first thing that you have to do. And then reach out, because alone you might think that you go fast, but together you go far. You go so much further, and it's so much more, you get so much more foundation. um, and then there is the invest in yourself. Like showing up is like you're there, all right, and present, and then look at what it is that you need. A lot of people think that therapy is for the broken ones, but I
Mm-hmm.
think therapy or sometimes kind of coaching is important for everyone, because in our own minds, our thoughts, our ideas, our potential gets knocked up like little wool. Kleur, I don't know the English word.
Yeah. Wool is also good. Like we
Yeah,
need to
it's
like.
like a big knot in your mind. And just invest in your growth. And don't be afraid for the shadows. Make sure that you hold someone's hand, and that you look at the trauma, that you look at the things that hurt, the things that you want to move away from, because that's taking care of your inner child. Because in that shadow there's a little boy or a little girl that only wants attention. Yeah. So I think those are the keys. Very
uh,
short.
no, but it's I can imagine someone listening would benefit already from that, like really making that list and putting yourself on that list, right? Already
Yeah.
putting yourself on there and really prioritizing, because being there for yourself, you can be there in a higher state for others as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If
That's the
you're
only
worn
state you
out
want
by
to be there.
yourself, yeah, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people who will probably be seeing this, that are people who want to change the world, because otherwise they would not feel connected. These are
Mm.
world changers that are feeling connected to these kinds of talks. And especially for those people, that want to help and lift things up to another level, it's so important to make sure that you're okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Body, mind, and soul.
Body, mind, soul.
Yeah.
Interesting way of putting it. Thanks, Margo. And so, like, you dance with people, but it's not like that you do a kind of tap dance or something, right?
Sometimes no.
This is a little bit different. So, what is the value of the type of dance that you do? And yeah, how do we have to? What can I imagine of how it looks like?
Well, I like to dance. I think just dancing, free dancing, is very, very helpful for your self-esteem and your body and your mind and your soul already. But what I especially do is I take people on a journey. When you dance, you open up. You open up, and emotions. It's also when you work out. When you're
Mm-hmm.
working out, you probably know that when you work with your body, There is feelings and old feelings, old false beliefs, trauma. It's all stored inside your body, and when you start moving your body, it releases. So you have a chance to release old shit
Yeah,
by
yeah,
dancing, and
wow.
especially the music. I choose the music in a journey. So, for example, you dance first with the earth, so you're grounded, and then you move up to your inner child. You dance with your inner child. You let it out. You feel what your inner child needs, and you bring it all to motion. Because with dancing, you take something that's stuck, like a body, a feeling, an emotion, a trauma, and you bring movement to it, so it opens up. And when there's movement, there's transformation. If you're willing to keep moving, yeah.
There's movement, there's
And then
transformation.
you become still to find a deeper layer, and then to bring it back into motion. Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So the stuck parts that we're like unconscious about,
Mm-hmm.
by dancing, expressive, like ecstatic kind of dance, I imagine.
No, not only ecstatic. It can also be very slow and very. It is about a journey. So you can take the journey, and it's more like a roller coaster, going from one feeling into the other. Because at the moment that your brain gets in rituals, what you actually do is you take something out of its normal environment. Because out of a comfort zone, you take something out of the comfort zone, and then the brain stops working, and your feelings start working. So your brain needs to stop, and that's why you move outside your comfort zone. So if I only build it up in an ecstatic way, then the brain will only go into the high. Well, you really need to get into the mud too, to get the more dark feelings out, the more pain and fear, anxiety. So it's both.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So that's what you also help with, right? Because that's
Yeah,
kind of scary to do that alone, I can
yeah,
imagine. And
yeah.
that's why you organize these Wild Women Fest. Did
Mhm.
you say that right?
Yeah, yeah. I organize different events. Wild Woman Fest is
Different.
one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, and that's only allowed for women, right?
Well, I also do. I don't do men's work, but I do for men and women together. Not as often as I used to, but I still do that every now and then to especially also get into that
Okay,
connection. Yeah.
okay, okay.
But
Interesting. So,
most of my work is with
Mag,
women.
yeah,
Most of my work is with women.
most of your work.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I can imagine like there being so many lessons, so many discoveries that you have made in these 18 years.
Hmm.
So if you would speak to, let's say you're 18 to 21-year-old Margot,
Hmm.
and you would have her on the phone or on a call like this, maybe even better said, well, it's not really possible back then, but let's say you would have her on a call like this.
Hmm.
What could you say that would really have an impact on her?
Mm. Well, I will tell her you are amazing. Don't be so scared, because you are perfect the way you are, and you'll discover that you don't have to do anything to be this amazing, beautiful creature that you are. And everything that you will do on the way is only to remember who you really, really are, and you're doing great. Don't let anybody ever tell you differently.
Yeah, that's wow. Yeah, when you say this, it sounds so kind of different, like, and do you still have the feeling like, ah, 18 years later, and that is, there's a certain practice or something that I need to do daily or like on a certain way to keep remembering this
I dance every day.
every day?
Yeah, and of I believe that you have this thing in your life, the thing that keeps you down, that keeps you small, that for somebody it can be a very big trauma, for somebody else it can be a very big false belief. You have this thing. And when I started my journey, I looked at this thing from this point of view. So here was the thing, and I was below it. So this was really heavy and really painful. And when you're starting to do your work, you spiral up. So it's not like this goes away. You know, the trauma is still there, but your perspective just changes. And, you know, you're on your journey and think, oh, yes, I let go and I have transformed it. And whoa, bam, there it is again. You think, shit, I have worked with this shit already.
Yeah.
But then you spiral on. And at a certain point, you look it right in the eye and you think, all right, here we are, face to face, my big fear and I. And you keep working. And it's not like this goes away. It's only that your perspective changes. So at a certain point, you look at it from here. And sometimes it can feel like, oh, it's still there. You know, the feeling of not being good enough, it's still there. But it gets so much easier because you look at it from a different perspective. You look at it from a different perspective, and you know the tools. So when I feel I'm not good enough, I can feel really, really low and down. And then I know I have to dance. I have to use my body. It happens most of the time when I got lazy.
Yeah.
When I get lazy and I start, all right, I'll just binge watch another series, which I like to do, but everything needs to be in balance.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Then I know, all right, if I want to get out of it, I'll just have to dance it out. And that helps. Or reach out to a friend, to a sister or a brother and talk.
Yeah. Just a brother talk. So it sounds almost like you find really, or not almost, it sounds actually like you found really what you need to be doing here on this planet, right? Like when I hear you talk, and also these names that you give it, I'm curious, like where do they come from? Like Path of the Priestess, for example, that's not like your everyday name, and it sounds really like, whoa, what kind of path is that, you know? Like a mystery.
Well, it's actually priestess. When I first heard it, it just stirred something in me. I think I read it in a book or something, and it did something to me. And I started to discover what it was. I started to figure out what it was, and especially what it was for me. It was like an old feeling, a homecoming feeling, and I just started to discover. And for me, it's really being of service of something greater than your own benefit.
Yeah, something greater than your own benefit. So impacting the bigger picture, so to speak.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah, I want to make change. I want to leave this world a little better than I found it.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds impactful, and I get like, you know, almost, you know, there's things in me starting to move when you say those things.
Yeah, well, I think it's important. I think there's people, you know, like you, and there's a lot of people who are feeling that, like, oh yes, I'm not only here to work, eat, pay my bills, watch Netflix, sleep, and do it all over again. There are people that are waking up and thinking, oh yes, we are in this together, and we can raise it. We can raise the vibration.
Raise the vibration together. Yes. So Margo, thank you so much. I want to know, like, how can people find you? Where would you advise, like, find, because you do so many things. So let's make it like the simplest way to find, because now with the virus, with the situation, what can people best do to come in contact with you?
Well, you can always go to my Facebook page. It's just Margo Awanata, my Facebook page, and this is where I'm the most active. I'm not very structured. My website is wildandsacredwomen.com, but it's always a mess. I'm never up to date with it. But my Facebook page is I'm very active on my Facebook page with sharing online courses. Most of the things I do online are for free. Because my real work is face-to-face in groups, and I do it all over the world. Well, right now I don't do it anywhere. I just do it here at home. But I dance every day on my Zoom. Actually, you can enter my Zoom page every day at 2:00 in the afternoon and at 7:30 at night. And then we dance 3 songs. We just dance it out. Together, and it's so much fun. So if you want to keep moving
Mm.
next to the amazing goal trainer workout that I always see at 7 o'clock. And I try to work with it. And at 7:30 I dance, and you're always welcome to dance along with me. Actually, I think you should.
Awesome. So that's for men and women.
Yeah, men, women. It's so much fun. There's whole families just dancing in their own Zoom like this, but then you have like 20 or 30 little screens, and everybody is dancing, and
Oh wow.
it's amazing. Yeah, and I do this until we are free to go wherever we want to go and hug whoever we want to hug. I'll do this every single day, every single weekday, and in the weekend only at 8 o'clock at night.
8 o'clock at night in the weekend. Awesome, Margo. So Margo Awanata will make sure that you're linked well in here. Thank you so much for being here.
Wow.
Not only for being here, but for being the person that you are. Thanks, Margo.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.